اوكي، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Welcome to our new course on commercial translation. Actually, this is the beginning of this course, which is delivered to the BA level students, and it is also delivered to both translation and linguistics students. Welcome, dear all, to this class, and I will be posting different videos on commercial translation. Of course, in commercial translation, we are going to talk about the methods of translation as well as the different types of commercial translation, how translation is maintained within the commercial discourse. Before we get into the method of translation, it is good to just to be able to know what translation is, because here in translation we have to be able to know the idea of a translation at all levels. As uh, we all know that translation is a kind of process of converting a text from one language into another. So here we can say that it is the process of transferring, converting meaning from one language, I mean the source language, into another language, which is called the target language, in a way that maintains or preserves the original message, uh, the original story, the original content, effects as accurately and naturally as possible. So, when we talk about translation in general, we can say that translation is a kind of activity that is both linguistic and cultural, because it involves converting written or spoken content from one language to another while maintaining its semantic, pragmatic, and stylistic integrity. So we can say that it requires a deep understanding not only of the vocabulary and the grammar, but also of the context, cultural nuances, idiomatic expressions, and the purpose of the original text. So, in general, when we look into the core or the main aspects of translation, we can talk about semantic equivalence, we can talk about grammatical or syntactic accuracy, we can talk about cultural adaptation, we can talk about functional equivalence, we can talk about faithful or and naturalness, uh, and so on and so forth. So, for these things that we talk about as aspects of translation, for the semantics, for example, or the semantic equivalence, we have to make sure that the meaning of the source text is preserved. So we have to avoid distortion or loss of important information. Grammatical or syntactic accuracy, we have, let's say, the adaptation or adapting sentence structures to conform to the grammar rules of the target language, i.e., the language that we transfer the meaning into. We have the cultural adaptation, where we modify culturally specific elements, for example, idioms, references, and so on and so forth, to be meaningful to the target audience. This also involves the so-called localization, where the translation goes beyond language to adjust tone, customs, or measurement, and which is a kind of advanced levels of translation. And also we have the so-called functional equivalence, where we ensure that the effect is maintained on the part of the reader in the target language. And this effect is similar to that of the original audience. So especially important, this type of translation is especially important in literature, advertising, and let's say persuasive persuasive texts. And also we have the so-called faithfulness, as we said, and naturalness, where we have a kind of good translation should be faithful to the source text and natural in the target language. So it shouldn't sound like a translation. I mean, it shouldn't sound like as if it's a kind of artificial text where we talk about this type of translation. Okay. Okay. Now, if we look into this is a kind of introduction to the concept of translation, some let's say some core aspects of translation, and so on and so forth. Okay, so here we talk about the methods of translation, levels of translation, styles of translation, types of translation, and so on and so forth. So we have actually here we have different methods of translation, like word for word translation. This is number one. The second one is literal translation. Uh, the next one is faithful translation, and finally, sorry, communicative translation. And we have the so-called uh, adaptation, and finally, free translation. Now, let's begin with word for word translation. So, in word for word translation, here we have this type of translation, right? This type of translation here, right? Okay, so we have this type of translation is a kind of keeps the source language, okay? It keeps the source language. Uh, okay, just a minute. Okay, this type of translation keeps the source language, okay? Word order, number one. The words are translated out of context because it maintains the meaning of single words to their most common meaning. Another property of words for word translation is that such kind of translation can be used as a preliminary translation step, but it is not applied in real tasks. So here, if we look into this type of translation, we can say that it is a kind of, let's say, it is similar to literal translation method, where each word from the source, let's say, language, is directly translated into its closest equivalent in the target language without any regard to grammatical structure, idiomatic meaning, or natural word order in the target language. So, typically speaking, uh, we have different features, like, for example, each word is translated individually. Um, is sometimes the word order is the same, so the original structure is usually preserved, even if it sounds unnatural. And importantly, as we said, that in terms of context here, right, we say that no contextual adaptation. So it ignores idioms, cultural references, and syntactic or syntax differences. Uh, Sometimes it is it is used as a kind of sometimes, let's say, it is used. I think it's important. It is used as an educational tool for, let's say, in tool in language learning, right? Language learning to understand, for example, to understand vocab, let's say, and this is important to say that vocab and some basic, let's say, and some basic structure. So typically, this is how this type of translation works, right? So, okay, now we have a kind of example here. On my right hand, there were lines of fishing sticks resembling a mysterious system of half submerged bamboo fences, incomprehensible in its division of the domain of tropical fish. Okay, of a tropical, let's say, fish. Okay, so here, okay, now if we look into the translation here, okay, so now here, if we evaluate such a kind of translation like this, okay, so we will find the following translation as for on my right hand على على يدي اليمنى on here, okay, so here uh, okay, okay, على يدي اليمنى on my right there were lines كانت هناك صفوف of fishing sticks من أوتاد الصيد. So fishing we have صيد and sticks we have أوتاد, resembling a mysterious system تشبه نظاما غامضا. Resembling here it's a kind of adjectival construction. تشبه نظاما غامضا, so resembling a mysterious system of half submerged bamboo fences of half من الأسوار الخيزرانية نصف المغمورة. نصف المغمورة. So if we notice here that this kind of translation it maintains the word by word translation, incomprehensible in its division. يصعب فهمه في كيفية تقسيمه لمجال الأسماك الاستوائية. Incomprehensible in its division of the domain of the tropical fishes. So the overall translation we can say that على يدي اليمنى كانت هناك صفوف من أوتاد الصيد تشبه نظاما غامضا من الأسوار الخيزرانية نصف المغمورة. يصعب فهمه في كيفية تقسيمه لمجال الأسماك الاستوائية. We notice here, dear students, that the word for word, or let's say a kind of same word translation, no word is missing, no fiction is used, no metaphorical language is used, no similes used. All these, let's say, rhetorics or rhetorical tools are not used. So here we notice that this kind of language is maintained as is. So here we say that it can maintain the word by word translation. So here we can say that word for word translation does not take context into consideration, as we said. It actually might be helpful as a first step in the translation, but a great deal of the editing is and modification is have to be made in order to convey the message to the target reader. Also, the translator has to make sure that the translation follows the word order of the target language and that the choice of semantic equivalents is maintained accurately. So word by word, so here word by word translation is, let's say, it's kind of like this. It can also be called under interlinear translation. So here we have to make sure, dear students, that it is this type of translation is maintained as is. So here we have another example. We have another example here on word by word translation, right? Because as we said that it has some educational implications. John had not much affection for his mother and sisters and an antipathy to me. He bullied and punished me not 2 or 3 times in the week, nor once or twice in the day, but continually. Every nerve I had feared him, and every morsel of flesh on my bones shrank when he came near. There were moments when I was bewildered by the terror he inspired. So, actually, if we look into this text and look into the let's say the literal translation, so we have John had not much affection. لم يكن جون يكن الكثير من المودة من المودة لأمه وأخواته, for his mother and sister. So John had not much affection for his mother and sisters. وكان يشعر بنفور تجاهي, and antipathy, and an antipathy to me. So if we want to play with this, لا وكان لم يكن يكن الكثير من المودة لأمه وأخواته, وكان يشعر بنفور تجاهي, antipathy to me, وكان يتنمر علي ويعاقبني, and he bullied and punished me not 2 or 3 times in the week, nor once or twice in the day, but continually. مرتين أو 3 في الأسبوع, ولا مرة أو مرتين في اليوم, بل continually, باستمرار. Every nerve I had feared him, and every morsel of flesh on my bones shrank when he comes near. كل عصب في جسدي كان يرتعد منه, وكل ذرة لحم على عظامي كانت تنكمش عندما يقترب. There were moments, كانت هناك لحظات. There were moments, كانت هناك لحظات أصبت فيها بالحيرة, when I was bewildered من الرعب, by the terror الذي كان يبعثه في نفسي, that he inspired. So here the same, we can see that it has the same features or the same properties of word by word translation, where the context is not taken into account. It is helpful as a first step in translation. It is a good educational leader or tool that helps the beginners to start their translation career, and also to be corrected by their mentors or teachers. Let's stop here, and we will continue next time. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.